Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Whatever the I Want podcast, where I, your host, Gaby, gets to talk about whatever the I want. And today's episode is essentially me calling myself out because I am finding that little pieces of my old self is trying to creep in, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to fall back into old patterns. I'm on week 11 of The Artist's Way, and for those who don't know, it's a book that is essentially like a crash course on unblocking yourself as a creative person. And the word creative is very broad. Everybody is meant to create, and so everybody is creative in their own way, whether or not you believe it. And so she mentions that there are points where you just want to like quit and just stop everything. And I'm finding myself getting to those spaces. I will be drawing while doing this. So it'll be our first time doing a digital drawing while talking. So I don't necessarily feel like I want to quit in the way that quitting looks like. I feel like I am wanting to block myself, which, for some people it's with drinking, it's with reading. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that is like positive or negative. But for me, I think my biggest vice is scrolling on social media. And I lowered my timer to now 45 minutes that includes Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. There might be one other app in there. I think the only ones that I don't have restricted are YouTube and Pinterest. And so what I was finding is that I am now like on YouTube more than I usually am, and that I'm extending the time. And I think some of that is because my brain is probably used to scrolling for a longer period of time, that now it's kind of like, man, I didn't get to have as much fun as I wanted to. And so I am trying to just like stop myself from just scrolling as much. But for those who don't know, I am visiting back home, and that is so much easier said than done, because whenever there is downtime, what are the people in my life doing? They are scrolling. And so it doesn't make me feel I guess like bad because they're doing it, but I know like internally I'm literally like, why are you doing this? Like, you should be editing, you should be drawing, you should be doing something productive. And I know that it's good to rest, but I also think as a creative person, we use rest, or just people in general, we use rest as an excuse to not do things. So like, oh, I just got off work, I'm not gonna practice my guitar, I'm resting. Are you? Is you scrolling on your phone for 3 hours straight resting? Or is that you avoiding what you need to be doing? And I think that is like where I'm like, oh, fuck. Like I don't want to avoid what I know that is going to ultimately benefit me in the long run. And so I am just trying to be super cognizant of this. And, there are days where it feels a lot easier, and there's days where it doesn't. And this has like been a struggle that I've had, like for those who have, kept up with the podcast, and those who are new, you're welcome. And sorry for calling you out. And, we're all in this boat together. And I just feel like I don't want to be stuck again. And I've been telling friends that because I've been, seeing a lot of friends and family, and I'm like, I don't want to be stuck. I have never in my life benefited from being stuck. And that is something she asked you. Who benefits from you being stuck? Who benefits from you not going to the gym, starting a new hobby, taking a dance class? Who benefits from you not pursuing your dreams? And the answer to that, you already know this, is no one. No one benefits from you not wanting to invent that product that you've been talking about or creating a prototype. Nobody benefits from you not showing up to the gym. Nobody benefits from you not working on your business. Nobody benefits from any of that. If anything, it's actually hindering the people around you. You're hindering the world because you're not actually doing something that will benefit it. And I know you think to yourself, well, there's so many, coffee shops. Like, what is my business going to do? What is my business going to offer? And the biggest thing there is you. You're not allowing for the world to see how creative you are. Maybe you make your coffee a little bit different. Maybe you make lavender syrup yourself. There's you are your own person and you are unique, and you offer a perspective to the world that nobody can ever see aside from you. And it's so, crazy to somebody think to themselves like, wow, I guess I am unique. But you truly are a unique person. You have your own DNA and you have your own attributes and personality and your own life experiences. Like, sure, we might have similar traits. We might have things that we have in common, which is a way that you can connect with people, but you offer your own entirely different perspective in this world. And I'm not sure why we convince ourselves that we don't, that we're not special, that we can't do things, that we aren't unique, and we entirely are. And so I've just been trying my best to embrace my uniqueness and embrace who I am, and to understand that people are going to, learn to love me as I am. And, I was talking to my sister yesterday and I'm like, I don't really feel like I have a big group of friends, and I'm okay with that because I feel like I can genuinely be myself in front of the friends that I do have, that I feel like I can, be goofy and talk about my life and not feel like I have to hold myself back because I'm afraid of being judged or having things about my life being shared. Because it's one thing that I really do value is, being able to confide in somebody and to have that trust that okay, well, this is something that I told them and it's just going to be something that they respect, and it's only information that I share with them. And, the same thing goes for me. It's like, I fully expect for myself to carry that same value throughout the relationship. It's like whatever they tell me is something that stays with me. And so I just am trying to focus on, what I do have. And I am trying to nurture the relationships that are conducive to my health. And I was, sharing with someone that I don't want to be around people who are stuck anymore, because it's so easy to be around people who are lazy and on their phones, and they're always gossiping and talking shit about people. And I know those people. And I kind of have been that person. I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to be somebody who's like, well, I could write that song better. Why didn't they use this lyric instead? Or why does their outfit look like that? Or, I don't want to sit here and critique people based off of something that who are you to say something? You know what I mean? Who are you? You ain't shit kind of thing. And, even the higher up you get in life, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a best-selling artist, I mean, keep in mind, you still ain't shit. But at the same time, it's more so you ain't shit without the support from the people around you. And I think it's just a more aggressive way of saying you are no different than the people around you. If you ain't shit, I ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? We all ain't shit. However, I know and I understand that we are all valuable in our own ways, and we all offer our own different perspectives and insight to life. And so that is why I want to be around people who are at the same level of me, at the same level of consciousness, or at the same, way of being. And that's not to say that I'm not perfect and that I don't slip up at times when it comes to like, even sharing something. I'm like, is this gossiping? Am I just like sharing information? Like I have to catch myself sometimes. And I, for the most part, just want to surround myself with people who are on the same boat as me, who are trying to be better every single day, who are trying to improve their lives, who are trying to be kind to everyone around them, who are trying to spread love and trying to, spread awareness, and who have the same values as me. I think that is like one of the most important things is like we need to be on the same page about life, especially like in this day and age. There's just like so much happening in the world, and I definitely want to be around people who make me feel supported day in and day out. And that's not to say that you need to be talking to somebody every single day, because I too do not have the time to be, talking to somebody every single day. But I do feel like I, want to be around people who I feel like I could call, if I needed them, like that they would answer and that they would be there. And I do think I have that group of friends, but I know that right now it, I am my own biggest motivator. Like I have to be, and that is, I am my own driving force. And I do think that social media has made me, want to scroll more. And I think lowering my social media time frame has made me want to scroll more, because I'm just kind of like, I guess, itching for those extra 15 minutes that I took off. And it's just like, dang, that's so crazy that your mind and your brain and your body get used to it. So I'm kind of going through some growing pains right now. And I know that I'll get through it. It's just a matter of staying on top of it, because it's so, so easy to fall through the cracks. It's so freaking easy to fall through the cracks. I know that you know that. It's so easy to quit on yourself, whether you, like, I've gone through phases of going to the gym and not going to the gym. Like I've gone phases of going to the gym consistently and then not going for years, literally years of my life. And I don't want that to happen anymore. I just want to stay on top of myself. And so that's something that I'm having to actively do right now. And so, for anybody else who is struggling with like, do I show up today? Do I make that post? Do I do these things? The answer is yes. Always, always, always do it. Yes, always, always, always show up for yourself. And every single day that showing up for yourself can look so different. And I was watching a YouTube video this morning that was talking about that. And it was saying that like every single day you're not going to have like a miraculous breakthrough. Every single day you're not going to, have like the most like amazing workout, or, every single episode of this podcast is not going to be the most like revolutionary episode. But the biggest thing is just like to keep showing up. And that's, what I'm learning is that I do need to keep showing up. I do need to keep, staying on top of myself, because I know that once I fall through the cracks, like there goes Gaby. And I don't want that. I don't want to fall back into old patterns and to, forget what this is all for. And, it's ultimately for my future self. That's the reason why I show up now, and whatever capacity that looks like, because I know that one day I'm going to look back and I'm going to be like, holy shit, can you believe I freaking did that? And it's going to be an incredible experience. I mean, I'm already feeling that way, because it's just kind of like I'm getting close to releasing episode 50 of this podcast. And to think that I've showed up twice a week for 25 weeks straight, assuming we complete the, I guess, mental challenge that I created for myself, assuming that we complete that. I mean, I'm already proud of myself regardless of whether or not we complete it, but I know that this is like a goal for myself that I didn't know that I necessarily set, but here we are. And I am going to be, taking a break at that point, because I think that I obviously don't want to burn myself out, which was kind of happening at some point. And, even being home, it's just been a little bit more, I guess, like difficult to like record and to plan things around. And I know it's nobody's fault, but, I'm also like, I'm kind of on vacation. I haven't been home since February. And so it is a long period of time to go without seeing family or friends or, you know, my loved ones. And so I'm also trying to prioritize seeing them and spending time with them. And, you know, it's nobody's fault that I'm, you know, staying up late. Like I went to a comedy show yesterday in Fort Lauderdale. And so like, it's not anybody's fault as to why I didn't film this podcast episode. And now I'm filming it, you know, the day before. And I know I'm going to have to stay up late, even though I got to get up early tomorrow for a dentist appointment. But these are sacrifices that I'm making in this temporary moment for a future of mine that is going to be much, much bigger than this. And I know that I'll be having a team helping me out with things. And, you know, I have very big plans for myself. And so it's just a matter of like, okay, well, we're getting to that phase of life. We're not necessarily there yet, but we're going to do what we need to do to get there. And so, you know, I'm proud of myself for not staying stuck in that way, because, you know, it is very easy to, I guess, kind of just like forget the purpose of why you do things. And, you know, I don't want to forget that. I want to, you know, remind myself like, this is what it's all for. It's all for something. It's not like I'm doing all of this for no reason at all. No, I'm doing all of this for a purpose. And so it's just about sticking to that and reminding myself like, hey girl, like you need to post something, like, because there's a difference between resting and avoiding. Very, very big difference. And you have to ask yourself, am I resting or am I avoiding? Because like I was saying, the video I was watching earlier today, this YouTuber that I like, she took a hiatus. Her name is, I think it's Malika's My Guardian Angel. I'll link their stuff. And they talk a lot about like manifestations and things like that. And I was like, wow, I haven't posted in so long, because at some point they were posting like once a week. And so, you know, they mentioned in their video, like, I needed to take a break. And I mean, that's what a lot of things are for. And they said, like, the reason why it's so good to take breaks is because you let God, like, do their job. Like, you got to let the universe do its thing. Like, you can't just sit here and, like, force things to happen in a relationship, your job, or whatever. You can't force for things to happen. And so you have to, like, give yourself that space and, like, detach from the outcome and be like, okay, I did what I need to do. And so now let the universe do its thing. And so for me, that's what my break will be used for in between season 1 and season 2 of this podcast. It's going to be used for me to then focus on growing, you know, my social media accounts, like my personal YouTube channel, my personal, como se dice, like TikTok account, that kind of stuff. And, you know, for some reason, I tend to not post as much on Instagram. I've been trying to post more like BTS things, but I don't necessarily post like video content on there. And I don't know why. I feel like maybe some part of it is just like, I'm just so afraid to like be perceived by some of these people that like I don't keep in touch with. And for some reason, I guess like TikTok, my brain associates with like just internet friends. And so I'm able to like, I guess, like keep that division in my head. And so I'm telling myself that I need to get over that and to just start like posting on Instagram video content, regardless of what, you know, I think about my things. Because I think what happens a lot is that we judge ourselves. And so, you know, I was watching my niece Mia draw, and she's like, oh, this is so ugly. And she was showing me her drawing. She's like, and then she started calling somebody else's work ugly. And she's 13, by the way. And, you know, I told her, and this is something I learned in the artist way, I'm like, art is like, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like, art might be beautiful to you, and, you know, to somebody else it might be like, well, that's just not my style. And that's what I have been trying to teach myself, is like, you know, just because I'm not a fan of like the beige and white, and, you know, I mean, I'm at my parents' house right now, so I mean, that's the style of their house, and like, it's just not mine. But that doesn't mean that it's like bad. And so I have been trying to like reframe a lot of things. And so like, I'm actively working on myself, and that's why I'm sharing this with all of you, because it's like, it's something that you actively have to do. I choose to work on myself, and that doesn't mean that I don't fall through the cracks, you know, for a day or two or a couple hours or whatever it is. There's times where I'm, you know, I even was spiraling for a little bit today, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be like this anymore. Like, I don't want to like ponder, you know, for 5 or 10 minutes or who knows however long about what the next week is going to look like when I don't even know if I'm promised 10 minutes from now. And so I've been trying to really focus on being present. I had to remind myself, like I was taking a shower, and that tends to be where my mind wanders, and or I even went for a walk today, and I was writing a poem on my walk, but that's because it had like the calling to do that. And whenever I was in the shower, that was whenever I was like more so spiraling, and I was just like thinking about the future, and I'm like, okay, well, what is this going to look like? What are the next couple months going to look like? And I'm trying to like make plans. And you know how they tell you, like you make plans and the universe laughs. So that's why I try to remind myself, like, there's no reason for you to be making plans, because I mean, obviously have a vision for things, and take inspired action, but it's important to be present, because if you get lost, you're going to look back and be like, what was all that stress for? And, my family was talking about their ganas, and I was like, oh, I have a couple, I have like 2 or 3. And, for me, I try to remind myself that, the biggest reason why I am not as gray as the people around me is because I don't stress as much, and I actively try to not do that. And how do I do that? I did yoga the other day. I, journal, I write poems. I channel that stress into things that are like productive. And that goes with like any form of aging or anything. If you don't want to age, well, first of all, just tell yourself, like, I'm not going to age. Like I told my dad, he was like, oh, we're just all getting older. And I'm like, no, time is going by. I'm not getting older. And I feel like, yeah, I am getting wiser, but I don't think that wisdom and age go hand in hand. And I was watching an interview about a Playboy bunny. It was on the Keke Palmer podcast. I think it's called This is Keke. And she was saying how Hugh Hefner was not necessarily wise, but he was older, and she was young. I believe it was Holly who was in there in the interview. And she was saying how he was old as fuck, and he was not wise. He was manipulative. And so don't think that age and wisdom go hand in hand, because they truly don't. And so I just think that it's so important to be working on yourself no matter what phase of life you're in, and to stop judging yourself. Like even right now I'm looking at my drawing and I'm like, this is terrible and I hate it. And I'm just like, I think the reason why I've been doing a lot more physical art is because I get in my head less, and like I can't go back and delete. And so, but here I can just freaking delete layers and go back and do things. And so I truly think what I'm going to start doing, there's somebody that I follow who does this, and I really like the way their art looks, is just getting a sketchbook that is like the size of, whatever Instagram layout is, and just drawing with coloring pencils. And then from there, you just scan it and post it, because digital art is obviously convenient, and I love that it's eco-friendly, but at the same time, it kind of like takes away the tactile feeling of creating something. And, here I am, like with strokes, like getting in my head and stuff. But like whenever I draw a lot of physical things, I don't necessarily sketch with a pencil. I sketch with like coloring pencils, something that's like darker and more noticeable. So, I won't sit there and like, I guess like be overly critical of myself. I still do it sometimes, but it doesn't happen as long or as often as it does with digital art. But this is something that I've been like noticing and thinking about. So now it's like, okay, what are the next steps to do to this? I think life is just about working on yourself and deciding that like, this is what I do or do not want to be like. And, I was even talking to my dad, and we were talking about my mom, and he was like, you're going to be just like her. And I'm like, and, nobody's perfect. And so I, was telling him like, well, I can pick and choose what I want. And I think that's so true when it comes to anybody. Obviously there's, you can't control what attributes you're given by the people around you, but you can control whether or not you keep them. And so I choose to keep the qualities that I love about my grandma or my sister or my parents. Those are things that I actively choose whether or not I want to keep them. And so, I just am reminding you that, like, if you don't like something about yourself, fucking change it. Like, you do not have to remain the same. And if you like things about yourself, okay, then keep it. But, like, don't think that you have to remain a certain way just because you've been that way forever. I remember for a long time, my sister was like, "Yeah, Gabby, you're just dirty." Because I was messy growing up. I wouldn't describe myself as dirty, but I was messy, like unorganized. And, you know, whenever I had to have a talk with her, and I'm like, listen, that's who I was when I was, 13 years old. That's not who Gabby is at 25. Gabby's changed a lot. And so, I've had to have conversations with the people around me. Like, you're not even giving me the opportunity to show you and reintroduce myself as, like, this is who Gabby is. I'm not the Gabby who was getting blackout drunk in college. That's not who I am at all anymore. And if you want to continue to keep me at that level and only see me that way, well, that's just your loss. You're not giving me the opportunity, or even giving yourself the opportunity to get to know this version of me. And so I think that that's what life is about, is like surrounding yourself with people who allow you to be yourself in every phase. And, people are in your life for a reason or for a season. And so I'm actively trying to, like, be surrounded by people who allow for me to be myself, in every phase of life. And, I'm not actively trying to make new friends. And so it's been nice to be able to reconnect with people from, my childhood, or, I even have some, a solid little group of friends from high school, or, even some friends that I met online through Twitch that I have been able to, rely on. And I have to also remind myself, like, I don't want to be around people who are stuck. And so I kind of, not check the people around me, but I try to keep in mind that, obviously everybody has their own lives, but I also want to be around people who are following their dreams. I don't want to be around people who are stuck and who are working the same jobs as their parents, and who hate their lives and complain about everything. That is the last thing that I want. And so, and I'm not judging people who do that. Obviously, if it's something that you choose, then that's great. I love that you had that choice. But I think, for the people around me who I have seen do that, it's like they complain about their lives. They're like, I fucking hate my life. Like, I should have moved out. Why did I stay here? Why did I have kids with this person? And then they're just like complaining. And they know that they're stuck and they don't do anything about it. And I think that that's what the difference is like, obviously, circumstances happen, and it's about whether or not you're actively working on yourself and, like, trying to improve the situation, or at least trying to find the silver lining in something. And so that's why I try to surround myself with people who do those things. We were like, I don't necessarily like this hospital that I'm working at, but I've been applying to other ones, or in some cases with the people that I love, they've even moved states to work at different hospitals and to try things out. And so I think that that's what I'm getting at, is like, I have to actively check on myself on not getting stuck, because it happens. We're all human. But I want to make sure that I'm with people who are growing at the same pace as me, or who are even like a little bit above me, and who can help me whenever I feel like I'm falling through the cracks. Because, it's normal, and we're only human. I'm only human, and I'm here and I'm showing up. And so that's all that matters. And yeah, this is my little drawing. I'm not sure what quote I'm going to throw on there, but we'll put a little quote there. And, it's not perfect. It's something. And so, yeah, that's what I really wanted to share with y'all, is that, like, I am not perfect. I too am learning so much about myself every single day. And on any given day, I can feel a wide range of emotions. And I'm just trying to pick myself up whenever I fall, because now it's not even like even went for a jog today. I just was walking, and then I was like, let's jog. And then my knee was like slightly like, you sure you want to jog, girl? You didn't even stretch. And then I was like, yeah, you're right. I probably should do that. And then, I think it's about just trying to improve yourself every single day, and trying to understand that, like, just because today or this hour or this moment is not so great doesn't mean that you can't switch things around. I didn't get up till like 11 something, and I was on my phone, and I was just like overthinking. And I, was telling myself, like, you got to get off your phone. You got to get your day started, because I didn't get home till like I believe it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I had to go to bed till a lot later because I was on FaceTime. And, but that doesn't mean that it had to be a bad day. And so like I, was outside with my family, and I got to, we were watching some old YouTube videos that I had made. And that was like really, really, really nice because, they're family videos, and I just got to see like how much I've grown as a content creator and as an editor and all those things. And so that's why it's so important to document this process. And that's what these video journals are for me. It's for me to look back one day and for me to be like, wow, can you believe that? Like that version of me did these things. And now I can look back and, be so proud of that version of myself, because I know oftentimes we can be so tough. We are our own worst critics. And I know that I have fallen victim to that. And so now it's just about having the discipline and showing up and catching myself whenever I'm, starting to like low key give up on myself, like I don't want to give up on myself. I want to keep this momentum and keep, continuing to grow. And so surround yourself with people who make you feel good and who make you feel inspired, and surround yourself with content that makes you feel that way. Like, if this podcast makes you feel good, then keep on watching it. If the podcast does not make you feel good, then I guess you probably won't watch it. But like, there's YouTube channels that I surround myself with, podcasts, positive quotes, like you should be surrounding yourself with things that you want or that inspire you, versus like following people that you hate, or following people that who bullied you, or people who trigger certain things about you. Like, surround yourself with things that make you feel good and that make you feel loved and inspired. I mean, I know I already said that. So with that being said, I this episode was for me to call myself out. So if any of you are falling through the cracks, or who are, finding your old self being like, come on, it's so cozy down here, like let's just stay. I'm making those little tweaks in my life that I know that I need, which is like cutting down my social media, trying to draw more, reaching out to old friends and things like that. So I'm actively working on myself, and I strongly suggest that you do it too. Check yourself, because nobody else is going to check you. Like, as much as I'm saying that, like, I want somebody to check me, it's ultimately me who has the decision to be like, yeah, I'll listen to you, or no, I won't. And so, you have to be your own biggest motivator. And I mean, that's just life. I mean, nobody's going to motivate you like you will. And that's why we're still here showing up. This is episode 46, I think. And right? 46? Is this episode 46? That is bonkers. Let's see. I always have to like double check all this stuff, because I'm like, I genuinely have no idea. And I know I'm going to be up late today because this is episode 46. That is wild. That is exciting. And like I mentioned, at episode 50, I will be taking a break. It's not a hiatus. It is that we will be closing off the end of season 1. And then we'll be jumping onto season 2. There will be a break in between. That way I can, rest, recover, and work on other projects that I also want to do. So thank you so much for watching and for allowing me to have this space to talk about, whatever the fuck I want, and for allowing me to show you all sides of me, because I know that sometimes social media can be so curated. And, I have fallen to that of wanting to seem so perfect to the world, and, wanting to, like, I don't know, like, I don't know if it's a confidence booster or why we all did it at some point, but social media can be very, very fake. And I think that now more than ever, we should be celebrating our differences and celebrating just being human. And being human is making mistakes. Being human is falling down and getting back up. And it's okay to be seen trying. And like, here I am trying, and, be there for your friends who are, working their way up, because it's all up from here. It is all up from here. And I refuse to allow myself to be stuck or to fall through the cracks again because I held myself back for a really long time, and I'm not gonna let that happen anymore. But I have to work on it. It's all a work in progress. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this episode inspired you in some way. And if you're feeling stuck, know that you're not alone. I too have been feeling stuck at some points. So yeah, we'll get through this and we'll just keep showing up no matter what our meanie brain tries to tell us. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Also, look at these cutie PJ shorts that I thrifted. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. They're little cherries and they have little bows, which I think is freaking adorable. And I thrifted a whole bunch of other stuff. I had a great thrifting haul with one of my friends this past week. See y'all later.